The accusation. The council chamber fell silent as Commander Sienna slammed her fist against the crystal podium. The sound echoed through the vast hall where dozens of diplomats from across the galaxy had gathered for the peace summit. Her purple skin seemed to glow with barely contained fury, and her dark eyes swept across the assembly like weapons. "Someone has violated my private chambers," she announced, her voice cutting through the whispers. "My ceremonial garments have been stolen." Marcus Chen felt his throat go dry. He stood among the human delegation, trying to maintain his diplomatic composure, even as every eye in the room turned toward their group. This was his first major assignment as a cultural negotiator, and it was rapidly becoming a nightmare. "The security footage shows a human near my quarters last night," Sienna continued, descending the platform steps with predatory grace. Her crimson uniform hugged her tall frame, and the silver insignia of her rank caught the light with each movement. "I demand an explanation." Ambassador Torres stepped forward from the human group, his weathered face carefully neutral. "Commander Sienna, I assure you, we had nothing to do with this incident. Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding," Sienna repeated, her tone dripping with disdain. She stopped directly in front of the human delegation, and Marcus could smell something like cinnamon and ozone. "Is that what you call theft on Earth? A misunderstanding?" Marcus knew he should stay quiet, let the ambassador handle this. But he also knew the truth. Last night, he'd gotten lost in the sprawling government complex. The corridors all looked identical with their bioluminescent walls and floating directional symbols he couldn't read. He pushed open a door thinking it led to the guest quarters and found himself in a chamber filled with the most beautiful fabrics he'd ever seen. His hobby was textile history. He'd written his thesis on ceremonial clothing across cultures. When he'd seen those garments shimmering with an iridescence that seemed to shift between colors that didn't exist in Earth's spectrum, he couldn't help himself. He reached out to touch one, just to feel the weave. A guard had appeared within seconds, escorting him out before he could explain. Marcus had assumed it was just an embarrassing mistake. Now he realized those weren't museum pieces. They were hers. "Your Majesty," Marcus heard himself say, stepping forward before his brain caught up with his mouth, "I believe I'm the one you're looking for." The chamber erupted in gasps and urgent whispers. Ambassador Torres squeezed Marcus's shoulder as he passed, a gesture that somehow conveyed both support and "you're on your own." Within minutes, only Marcus, Sienna, and two stoic guards remained. Sienna circled him slowly. "Bold of you to confess," she mused. "Foolish, but bold. Tell me, Marcus Chen, do you know what the penalty is for entering a commander's private chambers uninvited?" "I'm guessing it's not a stern talking to." A smile ghosted across her lips, gone almost before he registered it. "I could have you imprisoned or expelled from this world, ending any hope of a human alliance with the Valdari Empire." Marcus's heart sank. Months of preparation, the hopes of billions riding on this summit, and he destroyed it all because he couldn't resist touching some fabric. "However," Sienna continued, stopping in front of him again, "I have a proposition." "I'm listening." 3 weeks ago, the seal of Valdari was stolen from our sacred repository. It's an artifact that validates my authority as commander. Without it, my political enemies can challenge my right to rule. My intelligence networks suggest it's been moved to human space, specifically the trading outpost on Nova Station. Marcus nodded slowly. He'd heard rumors of instability in the Valdari government. This explained a lot. "I need someone who can move through human areas without suspicion. Someone who understands both cultures. Someone who..." She paused, her eyes gleaming with something dangerous. "Owes me a significant debt?" "You want me to retrieve it?" "More than that." She moved closer, close enough that he could see the intricate patterns in her purple skin, like galaxies swirling beneath the surface. "I want you to complete the trials of understanding. 3 challenges that will prove whether humans are worthy of Valdari trust. Complete them, Retrieve the seal, and I'll sign your alliance treaty myself." "And if I refuse?" She pulled out a small device, tapping it to display a holographic image. It showed Marcus clearly visible, his hand extended to a delicate garment that was unmistakably intimate apparel. The angle made it look far more incriminating than the innocent moment had been. "I have excellent security systems," she said smoothly. "This image, along with my testimony that you were attempting to steal my personal undergarments, would make for quite the scandal. Human diplomat caught in commander's bedroom fondling her lingerie. The media would devour it. Your career would be over. And the alliance, well. You're blackmailing me. I'm providing motivation." She extended her hand toward him. "Do we have an accord, Marcus Chen?" He looked at her hand, slender and strong, decorated with silver rings that matched her uniform. This was insane. Trials that could be anything, a dangerous retrieval mission, and all of it orchestrated by a woman who clearly enjoyed having him off balance. But what choice did he have? He'd come here to build bridges between species. If this was the price, he'd pay it. Marcus grasped her hand. Her skin was warm, warmer than he'd expected, and something electric passed between them at the contact. "We have an accord, Commander." Her smile widened, and for the first time, it reached her eyes. "Excellent. The first trial begins tonight. I hope you have a strong stomach, Ambassador. Valdari cuisine is not for the faint of heart." She released her hand and turned away, her guards falling into step behind her. At the doorway she paused. "And Marcus," she called back, "wear something comfortable. We'll be dining alone." The door sealed behind her, leaving Marcus standing in the empty chamber. His hand still tingled where she'd touched it, and he had the distinct feeling that he'd just agreed to something far more complicated than a simple diplomatic mission. Tomorrow he'd worry about the implications. Tonight, he had a trial to survive and a commander to somehow impress, or at least avoid offending. He just hoped his stomach was ready for whatever she had planned. The first trial, Forbidden Feast. Marcus stood outside the private dining hall, adjusting his collar for the third time. He'd chosen simple but formal attire, a dark shirt and pants that the human delegation's cultural advisor had assured him would be appropriate. Through the ornate doors, he could hear soft music, something with chimes and deep drums that resonated in his chest. The doors opened silently, revealing a space far more intimate than he'd anticipated. A single long table dominated the room, set with glowing crystal plates and utensils that looked like works of art. Floating orbs of light drifted lazily overhead, casting everything in a warm amber glow. Commander Sienna stood at the far end, and Marcus nearly forgot to breathe. She'd abandoned her severe military uniform for something that flowed like liquid starlight. The gown shifted between silver and deep purple with her movements, and her dark hair fell loose past her shoulders instead of pulled back in its usual severe style. She wore no crown, no insignia of rank, just jewelry that caught the light, delicate chains at her throat and wrists. "You're staring," she observed, amusement coloring her voice. "You look different," Marcus managed, stepping inside. The doors sealed behind him with a soft hiss. "I look like myself instead of a commander," Sienna corrected, gesturing to the seat across from her. "Tonight, we are simply Sienna and Marcus, two people sharing a meal. The formality can wait outside." He took his seat, hyper-aware of how alone they were. Is this normal for diplomatic trials? Nothing about this situation is normal. She settled into her chair with fluid grace. But Valdari culture places great importance on sharing food. How you eat, what you're willing to try, whether you show respect for our traditions. These things reveal character. A server appeared, silent as a ghost, placing the first course before them. Marcus looked down at what appeared to be translucent blue cubes floating in some kind of luminescent broth. Small tendrils within the cubes moved gently. This is kelverite, Sienna explained, watching his reaction carefully. Harvested from our deepest ocean trenches. The movement indicates freshness. To eat it without hesitation shows courage. To hesitate suggests you find our food, and by extension our culture, inferior. Marcus picked up the curved spoon, studying the dish. It looked alive. His instinct was to ask questions, to verify it was safe for human consumption, but he could see the challenge in Sienna's eyes. This wasn't about safety, it was about trust. He scooped up one of the cubes and ate it without pause. The taste exploded across his tongue, sharp citrus, salt, something mineral and bright. The texture was unlike anything he'd experienced, firm but yielding, almost effervescent. It was strange and wonderful. Interesting, Sienna murmured, her lips curving into a smile. Most humans gag. Some refuse entirely. Most humans haven't been blackmailed into dinner by a beautiful commander. Her smile widened. You think I'm beautiful? I think you know exactly what you are, Marcus said, meeting her gaze steadily. And I think you're enjoying watching me navigate this. She laughed, the sound warmer and more genuine than anything he'd heard from her in the council chamber. Perhaps, but you're handling it better than expected. Tell me, Marcus Chen, why did you really become a cultural negotiator? The question caught him off guard as the servers brought the next course. This one looked more recognizable, some kind of meat in dark sauce, though the color was more purple than red. I grew up in San Francisco, in a neighborhood where 20 languages were spoken on my street. I watched people misunderstand each other every day, not because they were bad people, but because they didn't know how to translate not just words, but intent, meaning, context. I wanted to be someone who could build those bridges. A noble goal. Sienna took a bite of her own food. And yet you violated my privacy out of curiosity about fabric. I never claimed to be perfect. Marcus tasted the meat. It was rich and gamey with a heat that built slowly. I have weaknesses. Beautiful things are one of them. Beautiful things, she repeated, her lips dropping lower. Or beautiful people. The air between them shifted, charged with something dangerous. Marcus took a sip of the wine that had appeared with the course. It tasted like starlight might taste if starlight had flavor, crisp and bright with an aftertaste of honey. You're trying to distract me. Is it working? Completely. She leaned back in her chair, studying him. The next course requires a specific tradition. You must eat with both hands, and you must maintain eye contact throughout. To look away is to show shame or dishonesty. The servers brought covered dishes, removing the lids to reveal something that looked like large prawns, but with an iridescence to their shells. Steam rose from them, carrying a scent of spices and ocean. Sienna picked one up with both hands, her fingers delicate despite their strength. She held Marcus's gaze as she bit into it. He mirrored his movement, taking one of the creatures in both hands. The shell was hot, but not burning. He maintained eye contact as he bit down. The meat inside was sweet and tender, but he barely tasted it. All his focus was on her eyes, dark and deep, watching him with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. They ate in silence, this strange, intimate ritual. Their eyes locked, hands busy. The floating lights cast shadows that played across Sienna's face, highlighting the elegant lines of her features. Marcus realized he was learning her face, memorizing the exact shade of purple of her skin, the way her eyes reflected light. "Why haven't you married?" she asked suddenly, still holding his gaze. Direct question. "The atmosphere in this room makes deception difficult," she said. "It's part of the trial. Honesty under pressure." Marcus swallowed the last bite. "I've been too focused on work, and I've never met anyone who made me want to stop long enough to build something real. And now? I am being blackmailed by an alien commander who seems to enjoy keeping me off balance? That's not an answer. Now," Marcus said carefully, "I'm wondering if I've been focused on the wrong things."
Something flickered in her expression. Perhaps surprise? Or recognition? She reached for her wine, breaking eye contact for the first time. When she looked back, her walls were back in place, though they were not as high as before. "The dessert is less complicated," she said, as servers brought small bowls of something that glowed faintly blue. "Though it may surprise you." Marcus took a spoonful. The dessert sparked on his tongue like tiny fireworks, sweet and tart and electric. He couldn't help but laugh. "What?" Sienna asked, amusement dancing in her eyes. "I'm eating electricity for dessert in an alien palace with a woman who's blackmailing me, and somehow this is the best meal I've had in years." "High praise, considering I'm coercing you." "The coercion adds a certain flavor." She stood, moving around the table with both hands trailing along its edge. "The feast is complete. You've passed the first trial. You showed courage, respect, and—" she paused, stopping beside his chair, "unusual honesty." Marcus rose to face her. They were suddenly very close, close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating from her skin, smell that cinnamon and ozone scent that seemed to be uniquely hers. "Sienna?" he said, using her name without the title, testing the boundary. "What are we really doing here?" Her hand lifted, fingers tracing the line of his jaw in a touch so light it almost wasn't there. "I'm testing whether humans can truly understand Valdari ways, whether you can understand me. And what have you learned so far?" "That you're dangerous," she whispered, her face tilting up toward his. "That make me forget to be careful." The space between them crackled with tension. Marcus could feel his heart hammering. Every instinct told him to close the distance, to kiss her, to see if her lips were as warm as her touch. But Sienna stepped back, leaving him cold. Her walls slammed back into place, though her breathing was slightly unsteady. "Tomorrow," she said, her voice not quite steady, "the Festival of Embers. It's our most sacred celebration. You'll accompany me, and you'll participate in the bonding dance." "That sounds complicated?" "It is." She moved toward the door, then paused, looking back at him. "We're something you can move in, Marcus Chen. The dance requires closeness, and after tonight, I suspect that will be," she hesitated, "challenging for both of us." The door opened and she swept through it, leaving Marcus alone in the dining hall surrounded by empty plates and floating lights. He touched his jaw, where her fingers had been, feeling the ghost of her touch. He was in trouble, deep trouble, the kind that had nothing to do with stolen artifacts and political trials, and everything to do with the way his heart was still racing. Tomorrow he would dance with her in front of thousands. Tomorrow he would have to maintain his composure while holding her close, and tomorrow he would pretend this was all part of diplomatic duty. Tonight,
the dance of fire. The Festival of Embers transformed the Valdari capital into a sea of flame and music. Thousands gathered in the Grand Plaza, their purple skin glowing in the firelight as massive braziers burned with flames that shifted through every color imaginable. Marcus stood at the edge of the ceremonial platform, his heart pounding as drums echoed through the night. Sienna emerged from the temple entrance, and the crowd fell silent. She wore a gown of deep crimson that seemed to be made of living fire, moving and flickering with each step. Her hair was woven with golden threads that caught the light, and her eyes found his across the distance with an intensity that stole his breath. "The bonding dance," announced the high priest, his voice carrying across the plaza. "Commander Sienna honors us by performing the sacred ritual with the human ambassador. May the flames bear witness to their union of purpose." "Union of purpose," Marcus repeated mentally, trying to ignore how the words sounded like something else entirely. Sienna ascended the platform, extending her hand toward him. "Ready, Marcus Chen?" "Absolutely not," he admitted, taking her hand anyway. Her fingers intertwined with his, warm and sure. "The dance requires complete trust. You follow my lead, match my movements, and never break contact. To separate during the dance is to show division between our peoples. No pressure then. The music began. Low drums and high chimes that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Sienna's other hand found his waist, pulling him close. Her body aligned with his as they began to move. The dance was unlike anything Marcus had experienced. It wasn't structured steps, but fluid motion, circular and spiraling. They turned together as flames erupted around the platform's edges, creating a ring of fire. The heat was intense, but nothing compared to the warmth of Sienna pressed against him. "Closer," she instructed, her breath against his ear. "The dance represents two becoming one." Marcus pulled her tighter, their bodies moving in perfect synchronization now. He could feel every curve of her through the thin fabric of their clothing, feel her heartbeat matching his own rapid rhythm. Her hand slid from his waist to his back, fingers spreading across his spine. The tempo increased. The flames rose higher, they spun faster, their feet tracing patterns in the ceremonial sand that covered the platform. Marcus forgot about the watching thousands, forgot about trials and treaties and everything except the woman in his arms. "You're a quick learner," Sienna murmured, her lips dangerously close to his neck. "I'm motivated." "By blackmail? By you." Her grip tightened. The dance shifted, requiring them to face each other fully, foreheads nearly touching, eyes locked. This close, Marcus could see the faint luminescence in her skin, like stars beneath the surface. Could see how her pupils had dilated, how her breathing had quickened. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "The fire. Us." The music reached a crescendo. The final movement required them to circle each other, hands trailing along arms, shoulders, waists, maintaining constant contact while the flames around them blazed white-hot. It was intimate and public all at once, a performance that felt far too real. Marcus's hand cupped the back of Sienna's neck, her skin burning under his palm. She tilted her face up, their lips a breath apart. The world narrowed to just this moment, this woman, this impossible connection. "Marcus," she breathed, and it sounded like surrender. He leaned in, closing the final distance, and then the world exploded. The blast threw them apart. Marcus hit the platform hard, ears ringing. Through the smoke and chaos, he saw flames, real flames, uncontrolled, consuming the ceremonial braziers. Screams erupted from the crowd as people ran. "Sienna!" Marcus scrambled to his feet, searching through the smoke. She appeared beside him, a cut bleeding purple blood down her temple. "Bomb," she said, her commander voice returning. "Someone sabotaged the festival." Guards surrounded them, weapons drawn, forming a protective barrier. Marcus caught Sienna's arm. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine. We need to evacuate." "Your head is bleeding." She touched the wound, looking at the blood on her fingers as if surprised. "Minor. Marcus, this wasn't an accident. Someone doesn't want these trials to succeed." Another explosion rocked the plaza, this one closer. The guards pushed them toward the temple entrance, away from the panicking crowd. Marcus kept his hand on Sienna's back, unable to let her go even as chaos swirled around them. They made it inside the temple, the door sealed behind them, cutting off the sounds of panic. Sienna sagged against the wall and Marcus saw her wince. "You're not fine," he said, moving to examine her. The cut on her temple was deeper than she'd admitted, and when she tried to brush him off, he caught her wrist. "Stop being a commander for 5 seconds and let me help you." Something in his tone made her still. She nodded, letting him guide her to a stone bench. A medic appeared with supplies, but Marcus took them, his hands gentle as he cleaned the wound. "This is becoming a pattern," Sienna said softly. "You taking care of me." "Someone has to. You're terrible at it yourself." Her hand covered his, stilling his movements. "Marcus, what almost happened out there?" "We almost kissed in front of several thousand witnesses. That's not what I mean." Her eyes met his, vulnerable in a way he'd never seen. "What's happening between us? This isn't part of the plan." "Plans change. I'm a Valdari commander. You're a human ambassador. We're from different worlds, literally." "I know. This is complicated."
I know that too. Marcus finished bandaging her temple, but didn't move away. Sienna, someone just tried to kill us. Maybe we're past worrying about complicated. She laughed, short and sharp. You're right. The third trial is the Desert of Whispers. We leave at dawn. What is it? A place where the atmosphere makes lies impossible, where truth is inevitable. After tonight, after what almost happened, are you sure you want to go somewhere where we'll have no choice but to be honest? Marcus stood up as well, taking her hand. More sure than I've been about anything. Her fingers tightened around his. Then rest while you can, Ambassador. Tomorrow no more hiding, no more walls. She left him in the temple, surrounded by guards and ancient stone. Marcus touched his lips, thinking about the kiss that never happened. Tomorrow in the desert, there would be nowhere left to run from whatever this was between them.
Desert of Confessions. The transport crashed 3 hours into the desert. Marcus woke to alarms blaring and smoke filling the cabin. Sienna dragged him from the wreckage, both of them coughing. Her arm was bleeding again, and his ribs screamed with every breath. "Can you walk?" she asked, scanning the endless purple sand dunes surrounding them. "Do I have a choice?" They salvaged what they could: water, medical supplies, emergency shelter. The second explosion at the festival had damaged their transport's navigation systems. Now they were stranded in the Desert of Whispers with no communication and night falling fast. Sienna led them to a rock formation that offered some protection from the wind. She deployed the shelter, a translucent dome that shimmered into existence. Inside, the temperature stabilized and the howling wind became a distant whisper. "Let me see your arm," Marcus said. "It's nothing." "Sienna." His voice was firm. "We agreed, no more walls." She hesitated, then nodded, peeling back her torn sleeve to reveal a deep gash. Marcus cleaned it carefully, his fingers gentle on her purple skin. She watched his face as he worked, something soft in her expression. "The desert is already working," she murmured. "What do you mean?" "The atmosphere here, it contains particles that affect neural pathways, makes deception nearly impossible. Even thoughts become harder to hide." She winced as he applied antiseptic. "That's why it's the final trial. Complete honesty." Marcus wrapped the bandage around her arm. "Then I should tell you something." "What?" "I knew about the stolen seal before you told me." Sienna went very still. "Explain." "Human intelligence intercepted chatter about it 3 weeks ago. I volunteered for this mission specifically because of it." He met her eyes, feeling the desert's influence, the words coming easier than they should. "But not just because of the seal. I'd seen your hologram in the briefing, heard about the brilliant commander who was too young, too unconventional, who'd earned her position through merit instead of politics. I wanted to meet you." "You wanted to meet me?" she repeated, something vulnerable in her voice. "From the moment I saw your image, I couldn't stop thinking about you. And then I met you in person, and you were sharp and dangerous and beautiful, and every moment since has been me trying to maintain professional distance while wanting nothing more than to know everything about you." The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Sienna's hand lifted to his face, her thumb tracing his cheekbone. "The stolen seal," she said quietly. "It's more than just legitimacy. Without it, my enemies can force a vote, remove me from command. I've fought for 5 years to unite the Valgari factions, to push for peace with other species. There are those who want to return to isolationism, who see any alliance as weakness." "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because I couldn't admit how desperate I was, how afraid. Commanders don't show fear. We don't show weakness. But here, in this desert, I can't hide it, Marcus. I'm terrified of losing everything I've built. And I'm terrified of this thing between us because it makes me vulnerable in ways I've never been." He cupped her face, feeling her lean into his touch. "Yappa sear your arm where there was no vit, or Dad, he was feeling connected to someone in a way I've never felt for anyone when I'm with you. It's been days, and somehow you've become the most important thing in my world." "This is madness," she whispered. "Probably. We barely know each other." "I know enough." She closed the distance between them, her lips finding his in a kiss that was desperate and tender at all once. Marcus pulled her closer, tasting the salt of her skin, the sweetness of her mouth. Her hands tangled in his hair as the kiss deepened, years of loneliness and duty falling away in the warmth of her embrace. They broke apart, breathing hard. Sienna rested her forehead against his. I don't know how to do this, how to be a commander and someone who cares this much about another person. We'll figure it out together. You say that like it's simple. Maybe it is. Maybe we're the ones making it complicated. He kissed her again, softer this time. Sienna, I don't care about trials or politics or what anyone thinks. I care about you. She pulled back slightly, her eyes searching his face. If we do this, if we pursue this, it changes everything. The alliance, our positions, our lives. I know. And you still want this? More than anything. Sienna laughed, the sound breaking with emotion. The desert doesn't allow lies, so I have to tell you, I think I'm falling for you, Marcus Chen, and it terrifies me, and I don't want to stop. He kissed her answer, pulling her down beside him in the shelter. They held each other as the desert winds sang outside, sharing warmth and whispered confessions, learning each other's bodies and hearts with gentle hands and softer words. Tell me about Earth, she murmured later, her head on his chest. Tell me about Validari, he countered, his fingers tracing patterns on her back. They talked through the night, sharing memories and dreams, fears and hopes. The desert stripped away pretense, leaving only truth. By dawn, they knew each other in ways that usually took years. Every scar had a story, every fear a source, every dream a context. As purple sunlight filtered through the shelter, Sienna lifted her head. We need to get back, expose whoever is behind the attacks, retrieve the seal. Together, Marcus said. Together, she agreed, sealing it with a kiss. The truth and the choice. They reached the capital by midday, battered and exhausted. Sienna had used the emergency beacon, and a rescue team found them at dawn, but the ride back was tense, both of them aware that their night in the desert had changed everything. And neither sure how to navigate what came next. Commander, her aide Cross, rushed to meet them at the landing pad, his face pale. Thank the stars you're alive. The Council is demanding answers about the attacks. Convene them immediately, Sienna ordered, her commander voice back in place. She glanced at Marcus, and bring Ambassador Chen. He has a right to be present. The council chamber was packed, advisors and officials from every Valdari faction, all talking over each other. Sienna's entrance silenced them. She stood at her podium, bruised and bandaged but radiating authority. 2 attempts on my life in 2 days. Someone doesn't want the human alliance to succeed. Someone doesn't want me to complete the trials of understanding with Ambassador Chen. Perhaps the trials themselves are the problem, spoke Counselor Thex, an older official known for his conservative views. Involving humans in our sacred traditions, it's blasphemy. Or, perhaps, Marcus said, stepping forward, someone fears what unity might bring. Change, progress, loss of power for those who profit from isolationism. Thex's face darkened. You dare accuse me, human? I accuse no one yet, but I find it interesting that both attacks happened at public events, almost as if someone wanted to create spectacle, to turn the Valdari people against the Alliance by making it seem dangerous. Interesting theory, came a smooth voice. Cross stepped forward, his nervous demeanor suddenly absent. But entirely wrong. Sienna's eyes narrowed. Cross? Forgive me, Commander, but you've left me no choice. Your obsession with this alliance, with humans, it weakens us. The seal you're so desperate to recover, I have it, and I've already submitted the motion to remove you from command. Guards moved toward Cross, but he raised a small device. The seal is in a secure location. Any attempt to arrest me and it will be destroyed. Permanently. Why? Sienna's voice was ice. I trusted you. Because I believe in the Valdari Empire, not this watered-down version you're creating. We were strong before humans, before any alliance. Your father understood that. He would never have compromised our sovereignty for some romantic notion of unity. My father died believing in isolation, died without allies when enemies attacked. I won't make his mistake. Then you'll die without your seal. Cross moved toward the exit. The vote happens tomorrow. Without proof of legitimacy, you'll be removed, and the Alliance dies with your command. Marcus caught Sienna's eye. She gave an almost imperceptible nod. They discussed this possibility in the desert, planned for betrayal, though neither had suspected Cross. The seal is in your residence, Marcus said calmly, hidden in the ventilation system, East Wing, 3rd floor. Cross froze. How could you possibly? Because I actually did break into the commander's quarters, Marcus smiled. Not when you thought. Last night, while you were arranging the transport sabotage, I was searching your rooms, found the seal 20 minutes ago, transmitted its location to Commander Sienna's personal guard before we entered this chamber. Guards poured through the side entrance, one holding an ornate crystal sphere that pulsed with internal light. Sienna's legitimacy seal. Cross's face went ashen. Arrest him, Sienna ordered. Charge him with treason, theft of sacred artifacts, and attempted assassination. As guards seized Cross, Sienna held up the seal. Its light blazed brighter, responding to her touch. The seal recognizes me. The vote is unnecessary, but let it be recorded that I stand here not just as your commander, but as someone who believes our future lies in cooperation, not in isolation. She turned to Marcus. Ambassador Chen has completed the 3 trials. He showed courage at our feast, grace at our festival, and complete honesty in our desert. More than that, he risked his safety to help recover what was stolen, to protect our people alongside his own. He also, Counselor Thek said dryly, appears to have captured your heart, Commander. The entire plaza saw that almost kiss. Murmurs